And then that's 2. And 2. We are finally back. NBA live before lock, opening day of the season. Myself, Chris Randone, bringing it back, the Tuesday duo. What's going on, Chris?
Yeah, man. I mean, baseball's over. NBA, we're rolling out now. I'm actually excited, man. I'm kind of over NFL. I'm ready for NBA, so I'm ready to dive into this 2-game slate. And you got courtside seats, which I mean, for anyone who's watching right now, I told Josh before the show I'm a little bit embarrassed because I'm in a hotel. He's in courtside seats. God knows what arena he's in, but it must be nice.
I don't know why no one else is showing up to the game. Looks like I'm just in an empty arena right now.
Because you're the main attraction, man. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, I'm not so sure anybody thinks that's the case. However, we've got 2 games to talk about. Got a lot of plugs to get through right out of the gate. So let's start with this one. Shout out to FantasyDraft for being the presenting sponsor of this show. If you go to FantasyDraft.com, sign up using the promo code AWESEMO, you can get a 7-day trial with $1,000 in rake-free daily fantasy. It's the only place where you can play rake-free, clear across the board. I have been entering their NFL Hooters contest every single week. It's the first contest that I get into. I highly recommend you check out Fantasy Draft. Really like what they're doing. I'm saving a large amount of rake on a day-to-day basis just playing there. Seeing they keep track of that number for you, so seeing that number rise every day is awesome because that's just money that's going back into your pocket. So go to fantasydraft.com, use the promo code AWESEMO when signing up to get $1,000 in rake-free entries for your first 7 days. I've got one more plug, and I want to make sure that I get it out of the gate because you need to get this answer in pretty quickly. We're doing a little bit of a giveaway. So if you head to awesemo_com, there'll be a tweet. It's our NBA opening night giveaway. You need to guess the amount of points that Kawhi Leonard and LeBron James will score. So it's combined total. All you have to do, retweet the tweet, like the tweet, and reply with your answers. You need to be following the Awesemo_com handle and the Awesemo NBA handle. You have the opportunity to win an Awesemo Plus season pass, $249 value for the NBA season. And that's all you have to do is just give your prediction for Kawhi Leonard and LeBron James points. We'll do the drawing probably tomorrow, and you can join us. You can get this premium package and join us for Alex's stream, which he does behind the paywall, just to subscribers. First one happened today. It's a fantastic show. You get Alex for 30 minutes every day. Cannot beat it. So come check that stuff out. Chris, we got a lot to talk about. Even though it is just 2 games, it's 2 games of teams that are loaded with talent. So let's dive in. Normally, we would take a little bit of a different look towards this slate since it's, if we had more games. But on a 2-gamer, I think it's pretty easy to just take a look at each game individually. So let's start with Raptors-Pelicans. That'll be the first one off. Raptors 7-point favorites. We'll start on the Toronto side. I'm just going to ask you straight away, your favorite Raptor for today.
I mean, this is a little tough one. I mean, because obviously we got Kawhi Leonard now gone. And so that opens up for the usage to go amongst a few of these guys, probably Pascal and Lowry, I mean, primarily. But I mean, this is something where when I look at it, I kind of like Sakam. It depends on which site, though, when we talk about it.
Sure.
And then Lowry, too, I mean, is somewhat interesting. But I kind of like, on the flip side, Lonzo at the point guard position, if I'm comparing the two.
Sure.
But I mean, yeah, I mean, outside of that, I mean, the way that the slate's going to work is you're going to have a core. And then outside of that core, there's going to be these guys that you got to fit in, especially if you're multi-entering. And I think in somewhat that has interest is probably OG Anunoby. I don't know how to say his last name. How do you say his last name?
Anunoby.
Yeah, I think OG, at his price point, from what we've seen in the preseason, definitely has had his stock increased. And I think he's going to play more of a role this year, especially with Kawhi now. I mean, he's got some big shoes to fill. Definitely no in comparison of any talent level, but we've seen what he can do as far as from a fantasy perspective. So on the defensive side, he can hit a couple threes as well. So, I mean, at his price point, if you're looking for people who you could fill in somewhere, primarily probably on DraftKings more than FanDuel, I would probably say him. But I mean, outside of that, not too many Raptors, outside of those three guys.
So for me right now, I have more Toronto than I was sort of expecting. And just caveat for right now, I'm only playing on FanDuel tonight. Very much too crazy of a day. So FanDuel only, DraftKings, I don't know, in the next couple days. FantasyDraft as well in the next couple days. Just too crazy on day one. I don't have everything set up. I'm totally not ready. So as of right now, I've got a lot of exposure to Toronto. It looks a little similar to the ownership, but I'm heavy on Siakam, 52%. Relatively neutral on Kyle Lowry. We're projecting him for 49. I've got him at 50. I feel like that might end up being a little low. Alex's projection seems to love him quite a bit here. And I've also got 57% Fred VanVleet, which not something I would have expected if you asked me how much VanVleet I would have on the 2019-20 opener, if you asked me that a year ago. The only guy that I'm not really getting to with a ton of exposure is Marc Gasol. And a lot of that just has to do with the way center works today on FanDuel. I'm casting a pretty wide net there. I'm surprised. I've got quite a bit of OG as of right now, and that's not something that I would have expected just because he's not the type of guy to fill up, like he's not a scorer. He's going to get there on grunt work stats. And I'm excited to see how he does in, 30 minutes. Like I've got him projected for 30 minutes right now. I'm excited to see how he looks in 30 minutes of game time. Where all are you playing tonight?
I'm playing both sides.
Okay. Have you built your lineups yet?
Yeah, I mean, I've built quite a few already. VanVleet, I do have some of him. I'm just not as high on him as maybe the field is. And I think that's why I've kind of lowered it a little bit. But I think that there's other areas where I kind of like a little bit more as far as the point guard position that people aren't as high on. And I think that's kind of what differentiates you in a 2-game slate, right? So, I mean, you have your core and then you have your guys that you're going to rotate out that you can fit in each lineup, especially once again, if you're multi-entering. So, I mean, VanVleet, he's gonna benefit greatly, especially now with Leonard gone. I think you'll see him probably play a majority of his minutes with probably the second unit. And then what we'll see too is we'll see him close games out, right? So we'll see him and Lowry on the floor. As far as VanVleet, I think it's a great play, except I just don't want to be as much on the field as probably what we're seeing right now. And so that's why I'm kind of pivoting elsewhere, just because it's a 2-game slate. So you have to be somewhat contrarian or differentiate yourself, because if not, then everyone's just going to have the same lineup. And it kind of limits you from being able to take down these big spots in these tournaments that we see tonight.
So let's flip it to the other side here. What stands out to you from the Pelicans? I know you slightly mentioned Lonzo. I'm going to go out right now and say that the guy that I am most over the field on for everybody today is Brandon Ingram. Where you stand on Ingram?
Yeah, I mean, I think Brandon Ingram's pretty solid. I mean, you got a guy who's lanky. You got a guy who can crash boards, who definitely has a great game offensively. And I'm just trying to figure out exactly how they're going to run this offense tonight. Okay. But, I mean, I like pairing him with Ball, too. I think a lot of people are concerned about Fred VanVleet's D and what he's done, say, what we saw maybe in the finals against Curry. Fred VanVleet has great defense as well. But I love the fact that Lonzo is priced the way he is tonight. I just feel like he's underpriced as far as from a point per dollar perspective. And I think he is more than capable tonight of maybe getting a double-double. And I mean, for him, if you pair him with Ingram, I feel like it's a solid play. I mean, you're looking at a team that, even though these guys are new acquisitions, but I mean, New Orleans as a collective unit last year, I think they were top 5 in pace. I mean, I feel like they're gonna be fast paced tonight. And I feel like, without Leonard now, it's not necessarily so much as a defensive unit. And so I'm curious to see kind of now how they play as a team. We don't really know the identity of this team right now. We don't know exactly. We don't even know about Pascal. I mean, is he as good as he is as far as an overall talent level without Leonard there on the floor? So, I mean, it's very interesting. So I feel like tonight we'll kind of be able to start seeing that. And so I feel like this is one of those games where we're going to see a high pace. I think you'll see a lot of scoring for sure.
I'm a little shook right now. Someone in YouTube chat just mentioned that this is totally random, that they hooked up with a girl that I went to high school with. So obviously whoever this person is knows who I am somehow. Totally random.
Oh my God.
Super random. But it really threw me off because it's the name of someone that like I just wouldn't expect anybody to say. Nice person though. Really good Facebook follow.
That's very random.
Interesting. It's just kind of craziness. Lonzo's the one guy that I don't know what to do with because I've been like a really big Lonzo believer from the jump. And I think that I still think that he can be really good. I don't entirely know how that translates to DFS, especially in game 1, where I'm just not sure he's going to be fully involved enough, at least on FanDuel, to pay off 7,100. So I'm a little underweight on Lonzo, but he's the one guy that I like want to see do well. I just can't get away from Ingram, especially if he's going to be playing at the 4 more. I really like the idea of him being able to stretch out. My only concern really is just the fact that they're playing Toronto and the Raptors. I think the Raptors are really good. I think people are probably sleeping on the Raptors a little bit this season just because of the lack of Kawhi, but they were still really good in the games that Kawhi didn't play. They're a fantastic basketball team, and with New Orleans trying to work in half of the Lakers from last year, no Zion as of right now, integrating Derek Favors. I think just the cohesion of the Raptors from year to year is going to be tough for the Pels. That's the only thing that's really giving me pause. We have one other guy that we need to talk about for sure from the Pelicans. How much Melli are you looking to play? He's the guy that is like the swing vote for everything right now.
Yeah, I mean, I guess apparently, he should be getting some minutes tonight. I would say mid-teens is probably a good estimate.
I think so.
As far as what we'll see him on the floor. But I mean, if you think about it, it's kind of an unknown. As far as we know, this could be a high-paced offense. So if he's able to kind of run with that, who knows? But I mean, for me, I feel like it's just kind of unknown. And I mean, obviously, yeah, you're gonna have a couple shares, but as far as like a hot take on it or where I stand, I don't really have too much to say with him right now because obviously there is a lot of relative unknowns with him. But hey, I mean, if he's going to play 16, 17 minutes at his price point, yeah, you definitely got to plug him in some areas.
Right now, he is projected for 20% ownership on FanDuel. I think that is like shockingly high. The only reason that is happening is because of the way that power forward looks. It is an absolute wasteland of nobody. It's Anthony Davis, it's Serge Ibaka, it's JaMychal Green, and then there's nobody else. And I think that people are playing a little bit too much Melli as of right now. I understand that he's at 3,500. If this were last year, where you're dropping your low score, then $3,500 Melli looks fantastic. But for now, I don't necessarily think that he should be in 1 out of every 5 FanDuel lineups. That just seems a bit too aggressive for a guy who's like the 8th or 9th guy in the rotation.
Yeah, I mean, but here's the thing though. Power forward position is just that bad. And so you mean to tell me that having maybe Serge and JaMychal Green is better than having Davis and Melli? I think Anthony Davis alone can outscore tonight any other 2 power forwards together regardless.
Yeah.
And so on FanDuel, I think it makes 100% perfect sense. Then if you want to go to DraftKings, yeah, it's a little bit different story because obviously we need production and we probably need more than what he's projected for. But on FanDuel, even given the fact that rule has changed now with the lowest score being dropped, the thing is that Anthony Davis is probably a must-own. He should be 100% owned tonight on FanDuel, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Yeah, I mean, that's just how weak the power forward position is. So I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all. I mean, I think if you really want to try to get cute with it, I guess, is maybe switch up some of the other guys there at 3,500 as well if you want to fit him in, because I just don't think Serge Ibaka nor JaMychal Green has the ceiling high enough to even make it worth, or even a floor for that say, to even kind of compare what we're going to see with Davis tonight. So yeah, I don't hate that play at all.
Yeah, I have 94% Anthony Davis right now, so I'm happy to be there. Let's just flip to the other side. Let's just talk about this all holistically then. So, how do you feel about LeBron James given your thoughts on Anthony Davis.
Ah, man. So I think I like LeBron on DraftKings more than FanDuel.
Agreed.
And I think it's because there's more leverage there at the small forward position on FanDuel. It's not the same situation like Davis probably in the power forward position. You have Kawhi, you have Pascal there, you have Ingram, and then you can even go down a little bit where if you want to get Kawhi and Pascal, or you can get like Kawhi and maybe like an OG or Maurice Harkless. Yeah, there's just a lot more to work with than the power forward position. But I would say on DraftKings, he's definitely a must own. Yeah. But on FanDuel, I think based on the price difference between him and Kawhi, knowing that they're in the same, probably level of being projected, especially with PG not on the floor yet, I think Kawhi is just the main vocal point of this offense. And tonight you would want to make a statement, right? It's the first game of this big battle between two teams that are trying to, take control over the city. I think, this is where we see Kawhi just kind of go all out. Now, I saw on the deeper dive, we saw Adam talk about how he's a great player, but sometimes not necessarily a great fantasy player, right?
Yeah.
Two-way player who is dominant on both sides of the floor. However, that sometimes doesn't translate into a DFS perspective. But at 9,900, I feel like he's kind of a must roster on FanDuel.
Ooh,
but also, I just feel like you can, saving that extra 1,500 from LeBron and going elsewhere. I feel like that's probably the more right approach in this scenario.
What if I told you that I'm saving on both of those guys? I have roughly half the field of LeBron and Kawhi as of right now.
I could see that. I could see if you wanted to go Pascal and Ingram, which I don't hate. Yeah. I don't hate at all. That gives you so much leverage in other places, especially if you want to pay up for maybe Lou Williams or Drew Holiday. No matter what, if you want to just look at it like this, okay, power forward, we probably have figured out. You're going Anthony Davis. And, if you want to go Melly, that's fine. Or maybe even try to get up to Jermichael Green. I don't mind it at all. But if you want to go Pascal and Brandon Ingram at the small forward and just kind of punt those two guys, I don't mind it, because it's hard to go to other areas on FanDuel right now and try to get the same type of value that you can get at small forward, rather than, going to point guard or shooting guard where there's not much that we can look at.
Jermichael Green you've mentioned him a couple times. I have a lot of him right now, and I'm starting to walk it back a little bit. It's making me a little bit nervous. How much Jermichael Green is too much Jermichael Green? Because I think I have too much Jermichael Green.
Well, look at what we've seen, with him in the rotation. When he does get his 20 minutes, he's somewhat productive. Yeah. What are you looking for him tonight? You're looking at maybe 20 to 22 fantasy points?
I've got him projected for 22.2. The boss man himself, Alex Baker, 22.5. So it looks like great minds think alike.
Yeah, that's probably what you would be looking for. And if he does that at 4,600, that's almost 6 times his price point. So yeah, I don't mind it. It's kind of tough with how they're going to roll with these big men. Zubac starts, and then you got Harrell that comes in, and Harrell's going to get at least 28 minutes. We know that. So it's just all about the rotation. And on the other side too is, they have to guard Anthony Davis. So you would have to think that this might be an issue where I think Zubac gets in early foul trouble tonight. I think he's going to have a tough time. That's kind of what I'm seeing right now with how this matches up. And then outside of that, then you got Harrell and Green, and Green's going to get his 20 minutes probably. So yeah, I don't hate that at all.
You mentioned Zubac getting into foul trouble. I'm going to look that up. I have no concept of how foul prone he is. So let me see how he did last year in terms of avoiding fouls. We sort of touched on, we didn't really touch on it. You mentioned Harrell, but the other piece of the lethal pick and roll duo of Montrezl Harrell is Lou Williams. Now, 6,500 on DraftKings, I think is, I don't want to say a really crazy price or anything, because he's still Lou Will. You can go for 40 tonight, and I wouldn't be shocked. But he's only 6,200 on FanDuel, $300 cheaper. That's not normally the way that the salary ratio goes between these two sites. Any thoughts on Lou Will on FanDuel tonight?
Man, that's kind of one of the biggest questions I have right now is, do I go big at shooting guard, or do I kind of take my chances and trim salary a little bit? Because I think Danny Green is somewhat fine, But then I also thought about Josh Hart a little bit over the last couple hours. Coming in and seeing it. You mentioned earlier, Raptors, we know, are a great team. We don't necessarily know how they're going to run the offense yet this year, though. But I mean, if this is a game where maybe it gets out of hand and they need a scorer to come off the bench, obviously what we've seen in second units is they come in when there's big leads, and Josh Hart definitely has the game where he can score. And so I thought that was interesting. There's a lot of shooting guards to choose from the Lakers. And so I think one of the biggest things that we're looking at right now and waiting for is Rajon Rondo.
Yes. And shout out to all the people on FanDuel that aren't going to be able to do anything about that.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I think Rajon Rondo, if he's out, I think this kind of clears up maybe some more minutes for maybe Avery Bradley and Pope, which I think would be a little bit more intriguing. But we've seen like Pope last year, he gets the hot hand, he'll stay in the game. So, I mean, this is something where if you want to take that risk, I don't mind it. So I think Lou Williams, though, at 6,200, based on where we have to pay in other areas, it's kind of difficult. And it's also kind of difficult, especially if you want Drew Holiday at 8,700, which I'm still trying to contemplate how much Drew should I have.
So here's the question for you. We're talking about Rondo a little bit, and I think we might as well hit on it now. Obviously, we don't have the information. So people for FanDuel, you're not in luck. People on DraftKings, you can swap out. Worst case scenario, if you only can make one move, you can drop from Rondo to Caruso and save yourself. But what are you doing with Rondo on FanDuel? How much are you willing to go to, if at all?
I see. The thing with Rondo is, he's a facilitator, right? We want assists from Rondo.
Yeah.
And I mean, outside of that, though, especially now with AD, do you really think he's going to have a lot of scoring opportunities with LeBron and AD on the floor? And so I think the only thing that I care about Rondo right now is if he plays or not, because that allows me to figure out if maybe I can fit in some more Cook, which I think that, he gets a bump in minutes and more time on the floor, and also probably to maybe Bradley or Pope. But I mean, outside of that, though, I mean, what more are we really going to get from Rondo? I don't think he has a lot of scoring capability with these guys on the floor. I think if anything, you're just looking at a high assist rate, and outside of that, pretty much nothing. And if he's banged up, how much time on the floor does he actually get?
Ooh, I just accidentally took all of my exposure of Patrick Beverley away. I didn't mean to do that. Yeah, so I'm going to play a small amount of Rondo. If our ownership is to be believed and he's at 3%, I like sort of having a little bit more than that on a day where finding a unique lineup is a little bit more difficult, especially on in the big $4 on FanDuel, which is got like 200 and something thousand people in it. So yeah, having Rondo and then having him play, I think is a much bigger benefit than if he bagels for me at 4,900. I get that I'm not going to win with that lineup one way or the other if he is out, but I think I have a much better chance of having a unique lineup if he's in and does play. Now, I'm not going to get crazy about it, but I think like around 10% or so of Rondo is reasonable if he's at 3% on FanDuel.
So let's talk about it real quick.
Okay.
Rajon Rondo and Beverly, $200 price difference between the two on FanDuel. If Rondo plays, you'd rather have Rondo over Beverly if you're kind of going in between that type of contemplation.
If I knew that Rondo was playing, see, it's tricky because I think that Rondo's ownership would come up dramatically if we knew he was playing. So it's hard for me to answer right now. If I knew that Rondo was playing right now, and I knew that their ownership was 38% to Beverly and 3% to Rondo, then I want a ton of Rondo. Mm-hmm. That's just an easy swap out for me. That's not really how it works. I think that if we got word right now that Rondo was playing, I think his ownership jumps up. I don't know, probably into the 20s. I think that you see a lot of the Landry Shamet ownership go away. I would guess that you would probably see Beverly come down a little bit. I would guess they're probably pretty close, all things considered. I would probably rather have Rondo than Beverly if I knew that Rondo was going to be in. But that makes me feel like kind of gross inside.
What about if Rondo's out? Do you pivot and go to Caruso or maybe Cook a little bit more in shares?
I don't get this. I don't think that either of them are going to be terribly relevant. I would have to think about it a little bit to see how much time Cook gets. I think at that point they probably just like Cook probably gets to what, 18 minutes probably if Rondo ends up being out. I wouldn't want much more than like 5% or so. I think that they just rely on LeBron to handle the ball a little bit more and have guys like Avery Bradley or KCP play like the nominal one position, even though they're not going to be handling the ball the same way. They'll defend like their ones, I guess.
Yeah, I just think so much usage goes to LeBron and AD, and I feel like tonight we're going to just see so much given to AD. I feel like he's going to eat a lot to the point where it limits so much from all the other guys. So especially from Rondo, man, it's like I would love. I mean, I get it. I understand if he's 3%, I can definitely see the leverage play there, and it's huge upside. I don't disagree with that at all. But as far as him and on the floor, and I just don't know how he can get there. And especially with Beverly. I mean, Beverly's a great defender, and so I feel like that's also a situation too that you have to put into consideration is him being defended by Beverly. It's just not a good matchup for him either if he's on the floor.
Yeah, no, very very true. Beverly is not fun to have opposite of you. I'm trying to see any other guys that we need to touch on from this game. If you were picking between Avery Bradley and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, that name just does not roll off the tongue. Do you have a preference between the two?
Maybe Pope, just because if he gets the hot hand, he'll stay in the game. And I think we've seen a couple times last year where he's definitely produced in games and he's put up 30, 40 burgers. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, and when it comes to that, that's the type of player that I want if I'm paying a low price point for that has the opportunity to go off.
I just got asked the question. Any Matt Thomas? I'm not even particularly sure who Matt Thomas is. That's not a guy that I have projected for playing time today.
I feel like this is a troll question.
Yeah.
I already got trolled earlier in the chat. I don't know if you saw it. I made a mistake earlier because I had a brain fart because I was thinking of something with pass out Siakam. I can't pronounce his name for some reason.
Siakam?
Siakam. I don't know why I say Siakam every single time. So I apologize for that. It doesn't mean I don't know anything about basketball. Just I don't know how to pronounce these foreign names sometimes.
Dude, it happens to me constantly. Absolutely constantly.
Like OG, I'd rather just call him OG because it's gangster and it sounds better.
Yeah. Oh, for 100%. We're on the same page here.
All day.
Okay, so let's flip to the DK side for a second, but it is 7:30. I want to go ahead and let everybody know it'd be great if you guys could hit that thumbs up, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you guys know when we go live. Coming up immediately after this show, right after we sign off, we're not done having shows. The PGA Live Before Lock show is going to be on. Ben Rasa, Jason Roslin talking the Zozo Championship, which locks tomorrow at, 6 p.m. or something. So they're in this weird Asia swing where all of the PGA lineups will lock on a Wednesday. So these guys are doing their show a day early. So they will be coming up immediately after that. We'll have the Early Bird podcast coming up a little bit later tonight, going over the full Wednesday slate. And then we'll be back again tomorrow morning, myself and Sal Vetri, breaking down the monster. I believe it's a 10-game slate tomorrow. We'll be breaking that down. We'll have all the same content that we had today. Alex's live stream for the subs, deeper dive, live before lock again tomorrow. Live before lock will be myself and Fast Eddie Fierce, so everybody in YouTube chat can calm down and stop freaking out that Eddie's not here. Some guys just have days off. Eddie's is a Tuesday, so be ready for that next Tuesday as well, everybody.
Yeah, man, they were going nuts. Did you see that?
Oh, they're not a happy bunch when they don't get what they want, man.
Oh man, I know. I feel sorry. But hey, you know what? We're here, and let's give the best advice that we can, so someone can make all this money tonight.
I'm hoping that's me, but I hope that everybody else has a decent shot at second place.
Okay. I mean, I'm okay with that. I got a couple free tickets into the big monster on FanDuel, so I'm kind of excited about that.
Nice. I would have had. I was trolling for tickets for the $4 slam. I ended up with like 70 or something along those lines, but not this past weekend. So week 6 of the NFL, they had massive overlay for all of their satellites. I was like, all right, here we go. I'm going to add like another 30, 40 tickets. This is going to be good. And then it was 1:15 Eastern time, and I opened up FanDuel like, how are we looking so far? Turns out, never uploaded my lineups. Played a single dummy lineup clear across $200 worth of satellites and did not cash a single one of them. So ended up with a few less tickets than I was fully expecting. So had to fill that out with just regular old monies, unfortunately. What a shame.
Man. That's huge. Do you think we'll get these two lineups for the Lakers and Clippers before we get off the show, or you just think they're going to hold out?
No chance. We won't know any of this information till 8:30 at best.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Unless somebody's being like super duper nice for the NBA season for once. So we're not going to know that.
I want to. Someone mentioned probably a couple of minutes ago about Jahlil Okafor.
Yeah.
And I thought it was kind of interesting because I have been looking at him throughout the day, and just trying to figure out kind of where does he stand in this rotation. And also too, I mean, Derek Favors, right? Is Derek Favors going to get his probably 28 minutes like he did in Utah, or do we see an increased bump, especially with Zion not out on the floor?
It's an interesting question. So earlier today, I would have said that I think that Favors sees a bit more time. I couldn't really see a reason why they wouldn't just unleash him as a legitimate center. I think he's really good, and I think that gets clouded a little bit because he was forced to play the 4 alongside Rudy Gobert for so long and then be the backup 5. But he's been beasting on people for a while. He's been good for years and years now. I expect him to be fantastic here. I wouldn't even be shocked if I dramatically regret not having more. I have lowered my expectation of minutes to 28, pretty much the same as the consensus that's out there today, because it just didn't seem like anybody else was on the same page as me. And on day one, with no additional information to rotations, I just didn't feel comfortable going out on that particular island. So I'm relatively neutral on Favors, but he's a guy that I'm really interested to see because I think that he can be a really nice center for the Pels and do everything it is that they ask of him. He's fantastic defensively. He's talented on the offensive side of the ball. He'll have shooters keeping the floor spread. Drew Holiday.
We can't talk tonight, man. Clearly, we can't pronunciate.
It's been a long day. I'm at 12 hours of sitting in this chair, and I'm not even close to getting up quite yet. So I'm running on empty. I can't drink any coffee now to like boost me back up, or tomorrow's just going to be shot. So you guys just have to get me misspeaking a lot of names, and Chris doing it too. It just happens.
Yeah, man. Sometimes the greats just struggle. That's how it is.
Where are you landing on Favors?
I mean, the thing is he was utilized in a different way last year in Utah. Sometimes he started, sometimes he would come off the bench, and we would see him play, 25, 28 minutes. I think he's very talented. I still think he has a lot of great game, and he also does on the defensive side. So for me, I do like him. The thing that I'm trying to figure out though is this a tough spot for him tonight with Gasol and Pascal? I mean, how do they utilize him? It's obviously a new team too, so with like the chemistry, that's also taken into consideration. But I mean, as far as him, like in the spot that he's in, I don't mind it. I feel like I'm gravitating to him more on Draftkings than I am on FanDuel, because I think that on FanDuel, where I'm at in the center position is I'm rotating between Dwight and McGee, and I'm still looking at Okafor. But so far, a majority of my shares are going to McGee and Howard. And I feel like Howard, can definitely get there. And if McGee gets into foul trouble, I feel like that puts Howard on the floor more as well. So, that's just kind of where I'm at with those two right now. But Favors, small share, not too much. Okay. He's that guy that he's going to get you 25, 30 points, right? Fantasy points. But outside of that, I mean, there's not really any more upside. And if he doesn't get there, then what, he gets you, 15, 17. So at 6,700, I don't know if that's somewhere where I want to pay up for. I'd rather go up a little bit more to Harrell, who's going to face a second unit in the Lakers, and I feel like maybe he has more upside there.
Yeah, we started that talking with Okafor, or talking about Okafor. He's a guy that I think could be sneaky today. You could tell me that he didn't play a single second, and I'd be like, all right, things got weird for the Pels. But if Favors picks up any foul trouble, I mean, he's a really good offensive point per minute guy from fantasy purposes. He's $3,700 on FanDuel. That's kind of the guy that I'm looking to pay down for, more so than I like Okafor a lot more than I like Melly, even like taking ownership into consideration too. Okafor is basically a third of the ownership of Melly. That's a spot that I'm really looking to get a little bit different with. So it's not like I have a ton of him, but if we have him projected for 6% right now, I'm doubling that. A little bit risky, but at the same time, it's $3,700. I'm willing to take the risks on spots like that. So I'm glad you brought him up. He is a guy that I'm interested in. If you're picking between JaVale and Dwight, do you have a preference?
Oh, man. I mean, it's like, I feel like at this point right now, JaVale is healthier. So I feel more confident in JaVale. Do I feel like defensively they could both get there? Absolutely. Don't really know too much about Dwight right now. I mean, compared to, because not there almost the entire season last year. So, that's also something unknown. But I just think that since they're similar in price point almost, you're able to fluctuate and rotate those guys out. And once again, I mean, have your core tonight and rotate these guys. I feel like that gives you the best chance of winning, in all honesty.
You playing in anything crazy today?
I mean, I'm just doing the $10 on DraftKings. And then I'm doing the $4 on FanDuel. Okay. And then I have a couple tickets into the Monster.
$4 on FanDuel. I guess you and I can just split the top prize. How's that?
I'm going a little bit off the wall, man. With kind of how I'm differentiating myself. In these areas, I have my main core of guys that I'm going with. It's like a pool of like 7 or 8 players, and then after that, I mean, it's just exposure to the ceiling as far as amongst all these other guys. So hoping for the best.
There you go. We just got an ownership update for anybody that is interested or anybody that is watching the show and has our premium package. Ownership was just updated. If you don't have a premium subscription, there's still something you can go check out. Alex's rankings are free today. I have them up on the screen right now. If you want to get an idea of what we offer from a rankings perspective, Alex has a fantasy points grade and a value grade for everybody on the slate. You can check that out right here. This is the DraftKings rankings. They were updated 19 minutes ago. So you'll see Marc Gasol, B for fantasy points, A for value. So you get a letter grade, A through E, based on how many fantasy points you're projected for. Then you get a letter grade A through E for how many points per dollar of salary you get. So essentially how efficient you are. You can check out all of the rankings. We have them for DraftKings, FanDuel, Yahoo, FantasyDraft. They're all here. If you've never checked out any of the stuff that we have to offer, today is Alex's rankings for free. We have a different piece of free content every single day that we'll be plugging that you guys can come check out. But for today, it's rankings. So go check them out right now. If you head to the homepage, just go to awesemo.com. In the NBA dropdown, you just have to go to Awesemo's NBA rankings. I could also drop that link into chat so people can get there a little bit easier. All right. Is there anybody on the slate that we haven't really talked about that you are playing a lot of? Like, who's your biggest hot take for today? Who are you handing out roses to?
Oh, God. I was hoping that you wouldn't bring that up. We haven't talked about Maurice Harkless.
We have not.
Who is fairly cheap, who I think is going to get some run. I think, they'll give him the defensive assignment too sometimes on LeBron probably. I wouldn't be surprised. And I mean, what more can you want? I mean, the guy's cheap and he's going to get a lot of time on the floor, and he's someone who can definitely get up some defensive statistics as well. So he gets blocks, he gets steals. I think just the question is, it's a new team now. So how do they utilize him? And what rotations do they utilize him as well? So yeah, I mean, that would probably be the biggest question mark, but I feel like he is a guy that could be a sneak play in one of these lineups that ends up taking one of these tournaments down.
Right now, I'm over the field on Harkless. I'm willing to take that shot. And really, for 4,100, there's a lot of guys that you can cycle through, whether that's OG at 43, Harkless at 41. If you're not paying up for LeBron or Kawhi, there are more options. It's not like power forward where it's completely devoid of any reasonable option. So I like that Harkless shout. I'm a little bit north of the field on him right now. We did get a question that I wanted to touch on, and now I'm losing it. Haven't really heard JJ Redick's name mentioned today. After however many years on the Sixers, 2, 3, can't remember now. Made his way to New Orleans, $4,800. He's the third most expensive shooting guard on FanDuel. Not really grabbing a lot of ownership. Does this feel like a spot where you get a lot out of Redick today?
I mean, he's starting. We know he can score. I'm just curious how they're going to use Kennish Williams and maybe each one more, and even Josh Hart. So I think you have kind of three guys who can, potentially be plugged in to, that role when they come off the bench, and just trying to figure out how much time they give him on the floor. But I mean, then again, too, it's like, he's a veteran. He's definitely probably the best scorer of those guys. And so I'm pretty sure that if this game's close as well, I feel like he'll be on the floor.
I would think so, too. He's never missed the playoffs.
It's crazy.
Every single year of his career, he has been in the playoffs. I think he's just going to be out there. The amount of gravity that he has on offense is just massive. If he can get a couple open looks, this is a really good spot for him. I'm a big fan of Redick today. I'm a little bit north of him on the field, and I've come up on him quite a bit. Even more interesting to me, seems like Alex's projections really like him. He's 2.5 points clear of Danny Green, 3.5 points clear of Norman Powell. I think the Redick is probably going a little bit underrepresented, at least on FanDuel.
Go ahead. No, I was just going to say, I think I agree with you on that.
Tyler in YouTube chat has a question. How much salary are you guys okay leaving on the table on a 2-game slate? I probably am leaving like a really staggering high number of salary. Like, it's probably a lot for me.
As far as salary?
Yeah.
If it, for me, I will tell you that there are probably some lineups where I have 5,000-6,000 left on the table in salary. And I think that's strictly contingent upon the fact that if you're trying to differentiate yourself and you're max entering this, you're trying to put lineups in that other people don't have. And that's one approach that you can go, and that's how you do it.
Yeah, I didn't add the salary section to my lineup sheet. I'm going to try to do that while we're talking right now, just so I can give like an actual answer. But if I had to guess, I would say a couple thousand easy.
If you have some out there lineups, it's gonna be definitely a couple thousand at least across some lineups. So absolutely.
Let's see what we've got. I can get to it pretty quickly, which is good. I would guess. Let's see, on FanDuel. I mean, yeah, I'd be shocked if it was less than 3,000 for me right now. Like the biggest one.
Yeah.
And I'm totally fine with that. That's another way that you're able to get different on a 2-game slate. Now, if this were a full slate, I probably wouldn't be leaving that much out there because there's an abundance of options. All right, here we go. Total salary. I have, let's see, in my primary lineup, I have the full amount, but let's sort this down to just the lineups I have selected. So in my top 150, the least amount of salary that I have used is 57.6, so 2,400 actually, less than I would have expected. But I left 2,400 on the table in one of my lineups. Let's see what that is. Lowry, Van Vliet, Holiday, Powell, Anunoby, Harkless, AD, JaMychal Green, Derek Favors. Wow, I'm leaving 2,400 on the table, and I'm not even like rostering guys that are total scrubs. What's really crazy is given their ownership, the odds of somebody else having that lineup is like 1 in 12,000. It's just so much overlap. It's basically a showdown slate.
Yeah.
Anybody else you want to touch on right now? We could start taking a couple questions and stuff from YouTube chat. Unless you have anybody that you really want to get your hot take on.
Someone mentioned, how viable is having Lowry and Van Fleet in a lineup together.
Yeah.
or is that something where you should probably fade that type of correlation?
I don't really have much of an issue with it. It's not something that I have set up to stop from happening. On a 2-game slate, it's really difficult to do that. The only time that I'm really looking to limit guys that are on the same team like that is if they are splitting playing time. And that's not really what's happening with VanVleet. I expect VanVleet and Lowry to both play 30 minutes plus if this game is close. VanVleet at the minimum, or like 30 seems like a pretty realistic number. Lowry, you can get to 34, 36. I wouldn't be shocked. So I have no issue playing those guys together, especially because VanVleet is 5,600. If they were both like 7K, then you start to look into situations where only so many guys can go off and pay off value at big numbers. But in this case, 5,600 for VanVleet, 7,600 for Kyle Lowry. I see no reason that they both can't pay off their salary.
So I got a question for you.
Hit me.
If the Raptors, let's just say, kind of come into this game and really sweep them off the court, and it's a blowout, let's just say, do we see any love for Cameron Payne? And my other question is, do we see VanVleet still stay on the floor late in the third and in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, I don't think that I don't think it affects VanVleet at all. You might see Lowry lose a rotation if this gets like really out of hand, but I am not approaching this slate at all. I don't approach any slate at all as if a blowout is something that can happen. It's just not something that I factor in.
Yeah, I think, this goes back to the pace play. And I think with the pace play, I really think this makes JJ Redick in a good spot, especially on the wing. I feel like this is a type of game where he posts up to the side of the three and is able to knock down a bunch of shots if it's a high-paced game. And if they try to keep it close, and if in order to keep it close, too, I feel like they're going to need scoring. So I feel like he is that guy. I think one guy that's interesting that we haven't really talked about, and I'm just curious, is Kennish Williams.
Yeah.
And kind of how do they kind of put him into the rotation tonight, and how does he establish himself tonight as far as contribution to this game?
I honestly think that he's the biggest wild card for the Pelicans. He was playing massive minutes last year when the Pels were all depleted. And now you could tell me he plays 14 minutes or 24 minutes, and neither of those things would be terribly shocking to me. I liked him a lot more when they were playing him at the 4. I don't think he is nearly as valuable when they play him at the 3. It seems like they're probably a little bit more interested in using Melly at the 4. So I have like 1 or 2 shares of Kenrich Williams. It's pretty much how I feel about Melly. I don't really get the sense that I can get to much volume of either guy. But I liked Kenrich Williams last year. I just don't think that he's going to be able to soak up enough playing time today.
Yeah, I agree. I just feel like with Ingram there now too, I think it's going to kind of difficult for him to get on the floor more. But I mean, once again, it's one of those things. You also have JJ Redick. So I think Drew Holiday has a solidified spot. I think Lonzo as well. And then, I mean, the rotation is going to be primarily between JJ, Derek Favors, and Brandon Ingram. And to be honest with you, I feel like they see the floor way more than Kenrich does.
By the way, per EMAC, campaign was waived at 10 o'clock this morning.
Oh, was he really?
Yep.
He signed a 2-year deal. Wow. Did not know that.
So I don't think we have to worry about him popping in.
Hey, I'm not gonna lie. He did come up in a few of my crunches, so I had to talk about it.
I get it. Yeah, you might want to get him out quick.
No, I mean thank you for notifying me of that.
Yeah, no problem. Shout out to EMAC.
Damn, EMAC coming through.
Clutch, EMAC, clutch. All right, so it's 7:49 right now. We are coming down the home stretch. Last 10 minutes. Let's take some questions. Premium Slack, you get first dibs. Get in whatever you'd like to ask. If you guys are slow to the draw, we'll go ahead and grab a couple questions from YouTube. But feel free to get them in now. We can get some answers in for you guys. What my wife is listening to right now, but it sounds like she's playing like a drum circle.
Really?
She's not, but I have no idea what else is happening.
What does that sound like?
All I heard is just like boom, 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 boom. So I don't know. She's probably watching Real Housewives of fucking somewhere.
of somewhere. It's amazing.
I mean, it's
We're Housewives of Wilmington.
yeah. Oh, she would love to be on that. She loves
Oh,
those shows, man.
I think every woman does, to be honest with you.
They just yell at each. They're so mean over and over. It's the same show. It's just an argument constantly. It makes me sad. All right, questions are coming in. Favorite GPPs or favorite GPP small forwards not named LeBron or Kawhi. Brandon Ingram for me, full stop, is the easy answer.
No, I think OG and Harkless.
Okay. Those are two guys. I mean, OG, I have the second most exposure to OG at small forward, so I'm more than okay with that.
Yeah, I don't hate that at all.
Wicked Wiz, Van Vliet and Lowry, bad pairing or hurt each other's upside. We just talked about that a little bit. Now I'm more than okay with having those guys together.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
What are your favorite low salary guys? I would say Okafor on FanDuel as a flyer. Norman Powell is probably the guy that I have the most of, 3,900, but he's also chalky, so that shouldn't be terribly shocking. Do you have anybody that's super low salary that you like?
I think Jermichael Green is fine. I think Okafor is fine. Yeah. I think OG is fine. Harkless, Redick, Pope, Green. I mean, all these guys should be in your pool and labeled as the fitter ends, where you're going to fit them in as much as you can and have your main core there. And so, yeah, I mean, swap them out and try to get as many different lineups as you can with these guys and, pick the most optimal ones.
There you go. You get Alex's most up-to-date projections in here just to make sure that I'm looking at the right stuff. Refresh.
LeBron or Kawhi, the better play tonight?
Let me pull it up and have it in front of my face. I would rather have Kawhi Leonard on FanDuel for sure. I think I have a hard time going a different direction there. On DraftKings, probably LeBron on DK. Just because they're only separated by 300. I think there's a better opportunity that LeBron has a ceiling game than Kawhi has a ceiling game. But on FanDuel, I would rather have Kawhi just for the extra $1,500.
Okay. I don't hate that.
Any thoughts to you?
On FanDuel, Kawhi, just because of the significant gap in price, gives you more leverage for roster construction. But on DraftKings, I mean, I would want LeBron.
Friend of the program, Beto, one of the original guys that were watching my streams when I was just doing them for Reddit. In cash, should we be pairing AD and LeBron? I don't think it's necessary. I would absolutely want AD. I don't think LeBron is necessary.
Oof. I'm gonna disagree with you.
I don't mind. I'm not saying that I wouldn't try to get to him, but there is enough talent at small forward that I can find other places to go.
Hey, are we talking FanDuel?
That's a good question. Beta, FanDuel or DraftKings?
Yeah, DraftKings, I would say yes. I would want LeBron in cash. However, though, in FanDuel, I think you can go elsewhere. I think you can pivot down in the small forward position.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. If it's a FanDuel question, for sure. It's just there's just enough other options at small forward. AD's the guy that you can't get rid of in cash on FanDuel.
I'm okay with that.
Let's see. We're getting any other questions? Lonzo or Favors for a cash game on DraftKings?
Lonzo or Favors? That's such an interesting question.
Yeah, it's the utility spot.
I'm gonna go Lonzo.
Okay. I think that I probably would go Lonzo as well. I think that he probably has a slightly higher floor. What was I just doing? Oh, yeah. Actually entering my lineup. See, this is how you end up running just a train in satellites. When you're not paying attention. I feel like I already pasted these things in, but mentally I'm just kind of broken and I can't remember. So better safe than sorry. uploading my lineups one last time. I'm really excited to not only just put basketball on, but sweat some basketball potentially. A much more fun sweat for basketball than it is for some other sports.
It's great. It's the best thing. It's the best thing possible.
All right. What else do we have coming in here? Here's another one. This is a 2v2 on FanDuel. Lou Will and Norman Powell, or Drew Holiday and JJ Redick.
Oh, repeat that one more time.
Sure. It's Lou Will and Norman Powell, or Drew Holiday and JJ Redick.
Drew Holiday and JJ Redick.
I agree.
100%. I don't even hesitate on that.
So it's interesting because while I have Drew Holiday and JJ Redick projected for more points in the aggregate, I have more exposure, I believe, going to the other pairing. So 81% total between Drew and JJ Redick, and 85 to Lou Will and Norman Powell. So if this is FanDuel, I think I'm going to lean to Lou Williams and Norman Powell.
Okay.
I have more of them, so I feel like that's got to be my answer. Otherwise, I'm steering people wrong.
I'm okay with that.
Got another one for FanDuel. You ready?
Yeah.
4 minutes to go before lock. So, guys, get your lineups in. Actually, 3 minutes to go before lock. Get that stuff in. And again, immediately after this, PGA live before lock coming up right. We'll call it 8:05. Your boy OG and Avery Bradley, or Eton Moore and Redick.
The first one.
OG and Avery Bradley?
Yeah.
I agree. I essentially don't have Eton Moore. So JJ Redick does not more than offset the lack of Eton Moore. And I have a ton of OG. So I'm not a huge fan of Avery Bradley. That Avery Bradley play will look a lot better if Rondo ends up getting scratched.
I agree.
Anyone here on Jerome Robinson, 3K on DK? I just don't see him getting nearly enough minutes to be relevant today.
I agree.
Pat Bev or Fred VanVleet? No site given.
I kind of like both. In a weird way. In a weird way.
I prefer VanVleet. At least on FanDuel, I have significantly more VanVleet than Bev, but that is not I'm not mad about getting Pat Bev, that's for sure. We're coming down the home stretch. 1 minute, 45 seconds. Raptors lineup per 2 hours ago. Lowry, VanVleet, Anunoby, Siakam, Gasol. People freaking out whether or not it's Gasol or Ibaka starting. I don't get the sense that it would matter all that much. Probably matters more on FanDuel for Ibaka, just because if you know Ibaka's starting, he looks a lot more interesting as that power forward option. But otherwise, right, those guys are just going to play a bunch. Like it's probably not going to matter all that much. It's not like I have Marc Gasol projected for 36 minutes. This isn't the Grizzlies. Nicolo Melli looking like he's going to be the guy that dictates my night. He's up to 30% expected ownership on FanDuel.
That's wild.
I have slightly less than that. I basically don't have him.
You don't have him?
I have him in 1 out of 150 lineups.
Oh, wow.
As long as he doesn't go for 30 fantasy points, I'm not going to be too mad about it.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
You got to take some stand somewhere. That's going to be the stand that I take. But you guys better stand up and put your lineups in. You've got 30 seconds. Chris, any final thoughts before we send these people on their way after the first live before lock of the NBA season?
No, that's it, man. Honestly, have your core, sprinkle in all these other guys. And, if you want to differentiate yourself, there's nothing wrong with that. It's a 2-game slate. No one really knows what's going to happen as far as the right correlation, but good luck and someone take this down.
There we go. Guys, go check out that pinned tweet again for our giveaway. Combined points of Kawhi Leonard and LeBron James. Follow the instructions at the pinned tweet at Awesemo_com. We are locked. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Please hit the like button on your way out the door. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell. Thank you to the 1,556 people that joined us throughout this show. We greatly appreciate it. Final thoughts, Chris. You got anything else at all?
Honestly, JJ Redick's going to be the guy tonight.
There it is, the hot take on the way out the door. Thank you
Love
guys so much. We will be back tomorrow. PGA Live show coming up next. Good luck, guys.